So our next speaker is Deborah Gurofsky from MediaPulse. She's the SVP, Managing Director of MediaPulse, and currently now the home of Paramount Plus and Pluto TV here in Canada. She's going to talk to us about streaming and how that helps to build brands. So over to you, Deborah. Thank you.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to my Instagram feed. Today, you're all getting a little peek behind the curtain into my private social experience. Now, like many of you in this room, I use social media when I want to relax. Only, it's not always that relaxing, is it? You sort of scroll and you scroll and you scroll, and the next thing you know, it's 1 in the morning, your thumb is cramped, and you've just swiped up to see the zodiac compatibility of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Yeah, it's addictive, but is it memorable? Now, even as you're all sitting here right now looking at this, you've just seen what? 10, 15, 20 pieces of distinct content? Well, I bet you that an hour from now, you will remember none of it. Now, maybe that's because sometimes our social feeds look more like cesspools of our own insecurities than they do platforms for community and discovery. Maybe that's because sometimes an attempt at relaxation just turns into hours and hours of mindless doom scrolling. And yes, that is literally what it's called, doom scrolling. How ominous. What's the other one? Skibbity? That's brain rot and bed rot. Encouraging. You want to know what else is encouraging? When your doom scrolling leads to doom spending. Yeah. You guys, I'm embarrassed, but this is admittedly everything that I've bought off social media. It's disgusting, isn't it? But it is not my fault. I didn't search for these brands, if you can even call them that. These things showed up brazenly in my social feed with a 6,000x frequency and whispered false promises into my ear. Yeah, that poreless 19-year-old told me that a sheet mask would give me glass skin. I'm sorry, but what the fuck is glass skin? Is that like a medical term? Don't care, need it, want it, have to have it. What's a little false advertising? It's social. Like, click, swipe, buy. Instant dopamine hit. Followed by, you can all guess this, instant regret. And it was the same story for the gummies, the hair shampoo, the floating bra thing. Yeah, okay, yes, I purchased these products, but I have absolutely zero relationship with these brands. These were one-and-done checkouts that I immediately forgot about. A quick thrill, if you will, followed by an even quicker sense of regret. Want to know why? Because these, my friends, are one-night stand brands. Yeah. Think about it. They hook you. They seduce you. They intoxicate you. They, make you forget that you're 36 and work in media and so should know better, but you don't care. You need them, you want them, you have to have them. And then when they finally come in the mail, it's an instant letdown. And you take that long walk of shame right over to the garbage can. Ghosted. So let me ask you a question. When you show up to the party with one of these walking red flags on your arm, what is that saying about you? In other words, advertisers, when you show up in your audience's social feeds, alongside these one-night stand brands, what is that doing to your brand? Is it safe? I want to try something with you guys, because it's the afternoon and we need to have some fun. So I'm going to say a line, and you are going to finish that line, and hopefully it should be very obvious to you what that is. Maybe she's born with it. Amazing. Here's another one. Sleep Country, Canada. Bing. Amazing. Okay, last one. Super easy. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Good. Check this out. These are the years that all of these taglines were developed. Why does this matter? I just think it's interesting. They're all pre-Facebook, all pre-Insta, actually all pre-YouTube. But you knew them all perfectly. They've been living rent-free in your mind for literal decades. How is that possible? Well, Captain Obvious here, but it's because of TV. And not just the screens themselves, the fact that they're big and in your living room. It's because of the stories being told on these screens. And the lasting impact, or the long-term relationship, if you will, that comes when you build your brand into and around the context of these stories. Stories that people actually care about. Stories that maybe make us laugh. Stories that make us cry. Stories that inspire us. Stories that trigger memories, like that time where you almost had a one-night stand, but then didn't because you didn't want to be a Samantha, and you've been trying really hard to be a Carrie with just a touch of Miranda. Stories that make us feel our actual feelings. Stories that make us think critically about anything. And that could be anything from Kaylor and Aaron's drama on Love Island, great show, yes, to Mark S. and Heliar's Innie's passionate love affair on the severed floor of Lumen. Because these stories aren't just content, they're connection. These stories don't chase our attention with an algorithm. They actually earn it by giving us meaning and perspective to our very complex and layered, sometimes even daunting lives. These stories are quite literally the comfort that we seek after the anxiety that we create with our doom scroll. And it's not just anxiety, you guys. Social media is totally messing with our ability to learn, to focus, and to retain information. At this point, it's not even remotely controversial to say that social media is eroding our attention span. Study after study after study has shown that prolonged and increased usage of these platforms is causing us to lose the ability to pay attention. You've all seen some version of this data, but I'll cite Microsoft, who says that our attention span has gone from 12 seconds in the year 2000 down to just 8 seconds today. Is anyone else in this room literally terrified of what it's going to be in 2030? And this is not just a productivity issue. This is a literal neurological crisis. Our brains are being rewired constantly for instant gratification, instant access to information, that instant dopamine hit. And at the same time, we're being programmed to just keep on scrolling. No memories built, no connections made, no commitments. You think that double tap of the heart means love or like? It's empty. And it's so important that we all acknowledge this because it's happening to everyone. Everyone in this room is being affected personally and in business. And that actually brings me to one of my most important questions of the day, which is this. If we know that social media is fracturing our attention, why are we increasingly using it as a tool to earn it? Because what social media is doing to our brains might also be doing to your brand. Facebook's own data says that people spend 1.7 seconds with a piece of content on their mobile device before scrolling on. 1.7 seconds. Whew, talk about a quickie. By contrast, the eyes-on-screen attention for TV is 13 seconds, and for streaming, it's 12. Who wants to guess YouTube's? YouTube's TV, 4.5 seconds. It gets better though, okay? And I don't mean that sarcastically. A study done in 2024 in the UK with a large holdco and their client base saw that attention, it's not a vanity metric. It is in fact a profitability metric. And there is an almost perfect correlation between attention and long-term profitability for brands. The more attention you have, the more money you make. In other words, TV and streaming sell your products. And unlike that creepy guy at the bar trying to pick you up, telling you how amazing he is, we'll call him Jim, Instagram, TV and streaming are actually in it for the long haul. That's right. They are, in fact, the perfect marriage of attention, which leads to memories, which builds emotional resonance and leads to consideration and purchase, hopefully loyalty, absolutely profitability. So, why the commitment phobia? Why do you keep swiping left? We're literally in this room today because TV and streaming still represent the gold standard in advertising. And unlike the sometimes mindless, very perishable content on social, TV and streaming are still where our most important and thought-provoking, powerful stories are told. They're the reason why you all remember those taglines from earlier, because you first saw them on TV in ads that ran alongside your favorite shows. And by the way, can I just say, these shows still hold up today. I know I'm not the only one in this room that rewatches a series over and over and over again. We all have our go-to shows. And because it's 2025 and not 1994, we actually have the luxury to do this. On fast platforms like Pluto TV, or premium SVODs like Paramount Plus. And advertisers, you get to be part of that experience, that warm, comforting, nostalgic, laying in your PJs, or that new, exciting, hit series, can't miss, culturally relevant experience. I'll finish with a couple thoughts. We talk a lot about brand affinity and brand loyalty in this industry. Sometimes I think maybe we've lost sight of what those things really mean or what we need to do in order to achieve them. Well, affinity is just love. And loyalty, that's commitment. That's what real advertising is. It is a meaningful, fulfilling, mutually beneficial relationship. And by the way, it happens best on big screens that tell even bigger stories. Sight, sound, motion, emotion. It's been there the whole time, but it seems like we've given up on trying to find love. Yeah. We've gotten distracted by Jimstagram and his outcomes. We've forgotten about the magic that happens when we build our brands into and around the stories that matter to people most. And we shouldn't. Because I know there's no ROAS dashboard for emotional connection, but these stories, these shows, these movies, they don't divide us. They actually bring us all closer together. So can we stop pretending that 1.7 seconds is long enough to build a brand? Can we stop getting distracted by things that are easy and immediate? Can we stop settling for a shitty one-night stand? Look, I'm not saying don't sleep around, but when you're ready for a real commitment, call me. Thank you.